Hey guys, today we are starting with Chapter 2, Lesson 6. We're starting with the lab, using models to divide fractions by fractions. You will need a highlighter marker of some sort so we can fill in our strip diagrams. And feel free to use colors if you have that available to you. Okay, so number one, we have 6/7 divided by 2/7. So what is that asking us? Well, it's asking us how many groups of 2/7 will fit in 6/7. So if we look at our strip diagram, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We've split our whole into 7 pieces. Well, why is that? Well, we have a denominator of 7. We're talking about sevenths, so we need to split our model into 7 sections to represent our denominator. Okay, and we can also label our strip diagram just like we would a number line, splitting it into sevenths. And we know 7/7 is equivalent to 1 whole. Okay, so I'm looking for how many groups of 2/7 are in 6/7. So we're not going to use our entire strip diagram. We're only looking at 6/7. So we need to shade up to 6/7. And now we're going to circle every group of 2/7 that we see. So here I have 2/7. Here I have another 2/7 and another 2/7. So this represents one group. This is a second group. And this is a third group. So in total, we have 3 groups of 2/7 and 6/7. How can we check our answer? Well, we know that the inverse operation or the opposite of division is multiplication. So we can take our quotient, which is 3 wholes, multiply it by our divisor of 2/7, and see if it gives us our dividend that we started with. We know that we can write 3 wholes with a denominator of 1. Multiplying our numerators together, 3 times 2 gives us 6, 1 times 7 gives us 7. That is what our dividend is, so we used our multiplication fact families to check our answer, okay? Now let's also go back to our quotient of 3 groups. Is 3 groups greater than 6/7? Well, it is, because we know that 1 whole is equivalent to 7/7. 3 is greater than 1. Okay, so why is our quotient greater than our dividend that we started with? Well, it's because we're multiplying our first factor by a number that is greater than 1 whole. And so our answer is going to be greater, okay? And we can also think, well, what's the inverse of 2/7, or the reciprocal? It would be 7/2. Well, 7/2 would be greater than 2/7. Okay, let's look at number 2. So number 2, we have 4/5 divided by 2/5. So we're looking for how many groups of 2/5 will fit in 4/5. So we have our strip diagram split into fifths to represent our denominator of 5 of fifths. We're going to label our strip diagram just like we would a number line. Okay. We're going to shade up to 4/5 to represent our dividend. This is the portion we're dividing. And now we're going to circle how many groups of 2/5 do we have? Here's 2/5, and here's another 2/5. So here's 1 group and 2 groups. So we have 2 groups of 2/5 and 4/5. We're going to check our work using our fact families. So using our quotient, writing it as a fraction, a whole number with a denominator of 1, times our divisor of 2/5. Multiply your numerators together, multiply your denominators together. Okay, number 3. 6/7 divided by 3/7. So we're looking for how many groups of 3/7 will fit into 6/7. We have our strip diagram split into 7ths, so we're going to label. And we know 7/7 is equivalent to 1 whole. We're only looking for how many groups in 6/7, so we need to shade our strip diagram. And now we're looking for groups of 3/7. So here's 1, 2, 3/7. 1, 2, 3/7. Here's one group and 2 groups. So in 6/7 we have 2 groups of 3/7. Okay, and we're going to check using our fact families. Let's go up here really quick and label our dividend and divisor, just as a quick review. I know we've been talking about it in numbers 1 and 2, so we know that this is our dividend. This is the number that goes in the house. And we're dividing by 3/7, so this is our divisor. And the answer was 2. This is your quotient. Okay, so the answer to your division problem. Okay, so we're going to use our fact families by using our quotient, multiplying by our divisor, and it should equal our dividend. Multiply your numerators together. 3 times 2 gives you 6. Multiply your denominators together, 7 times 1. Okay, what is the reciprocal of 3/7? Well, if we flip it, it would be 7/3. Is 7/3 more than 1 whole? It is. Okay, so we know that we can use our other strategy that we used yesterday that we'll get to in this next problem. Okay, but just be thinking about that, how when multiplying by 1 whole, you're getting an answer that gives you more than your first factor. Okay, all right, so number 4, we have 8/10 divided by 2/5. So I noticed that my denominators are different in this one. I have a denominator of 10 and I have a denominator of 5. Okay, and what we need to do is we need to rewrite 2/5 to have the same denominator as the number of sections. So the number of sections is tenths, because this is what we're starting with, 8/10. But both of our factors need to have a common denominator. So how can I change 2/5 to a denominator of tenths? Okay, so here we're rewriting it. My first factor of 8/10. Well, I know I can scale up, multiplying by 2, because 5 times 2 gives me 10. What we do on the bottom, we do on the top. So we're also going to multiply our numerator by 2. 2 times 2 gives me 4. Okay, so now we have our common denominator to represent how many sections we've divided our strip diagram into. So here's 0/10, 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10, 7/10, 8/10, 9/10, and 10/10. Okay. We're looking for how many groups of 4/10 will fit in 8/10. So that means we're starting with our 8/10. And how many am I going to circle in each group? That's right, we're going to circle 4/10 in each group because we're dividing. Our divisor is 4/10, okay? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4/10. 1, 2, 3, 4/10. So here I have one group. Here I have two groups. So in total we have 2 groups of 4/10 that will fit into 8/10. So if we take our quotient, multiply it by our divisor, 2 times 4 gives me 8, 1 times 10 gives me 10. Okay, that does match what our dividend is, so we are good to go. All right, let's try another one together. This is going to be the last one for our video, number 5. We have 3/4 divided by 1/2. I notice that I have different denominators again, but 3/4 is our dividend, so our strip diagram is split into fourths, so that means that we need to change our denominators to have common denominators. I'm going to scale up my 1/2 by multiplying by 2 because 2 times 2 gives me 4. What I do on the bottom, I do on the top. 1 times 2 gives me 2. Okay, so now we have common denominators. So we're looking for how many groups of 2/4 will fit into 3/4. Our strip diagram is split into fourths. We're starting with 3/4. And we're going to circle groups of 2/4. So here's 2/4. This is one group. Now, I circled both fourths, but we do not have a full 4/4. So in this one, we only have half a group because we only had 1/4 out of 2/4 left. So in number 5, we actually have 1 1/2 groups of 2/4 that will fit into 3/4. Okay, so if we use our fact families, doing 2/4 times 1 1/2. 2/4 stays the same. To change your mixed number to an improper fraction, we do 2 times 1 plus 1. 2 times 1 is 2 plus 1 gives you 3. That's your numerator. And your denominator stays the same, denominator of 2. Okay, 3 times 2 gives me 6. 4 times 2 gives me 8. Well, that's not what my dividend is, excuse me. But what can we do? We can simplify by dividing by 2. 6 divided by 2 gives you 3. 8 divided by 2 gives you 4. 3/4 is our dividend, so we are correct. Okay. For bonus points, homework bonus points, try number 6. See if you can try it on your own, and we will check it in class tomorrow. Make sure you bring this template with you, and I will see you then.